So having brought all these steepers down, the hedge is looking quite wild. It's too high, it wants to be brought down to about this sort of height. So when it comes to thinning the hedge out, I can take a few of these off. One of the rules is that you should cut off downward pointing branches. Any downward pointing branches are much more prone to dying. That one's definitely downward pointing. So now the hedge should fit much lower and tighter. And what we need to do is to pull it down on top of the bank using crooks. So we've got plenty of timber cut out of the hedge. And it's always good to cut crooks out of the stuff that you've cut. So there's a piece of hazel. To me, that looks like it's got at least 2 crooks in it. This should form the long arm, and this one will form the short 8-inch one. And I think I've got something fairly similar, a good long section there and a short section here. So this should make 2 crooks. Through there. And then I often use 2 lengths of a bow saw and cut it off. And then sharpen them so they've got a good point and will go into the bank. There's no rule in Devon-style hedge laying about how many crooks you're supposed to put in. All they have to do is to hold your steepers against any future storms, wind and whatever stock pushing them. I tend to put them in perhaps every metre, and I would support the steepers with my left hand and pull them down. So the crook goes in aiming for the centre of the bank, through the steepers with the short arm to the top, and then knock it in with a suitable hammer, sledgehammer or whatever. And you'll notice that I was pulling the steepers down and knocking the crook in to the height of the steepers. If you try to knock the crook in and pull the steepers down at the same time, the steepers tend to just bounce the crooks out. So I'm going to tidy up the hedge by pulling in the last bits that are a bit above the final size of it, and then trim it with a bill hook so that it's got a nice level top. And when people look at your hedge laying, if it's got a level top, they're always impressed with it. So once I've finished the hedge laying, the final process is casting up, which is taking the soil from the bottom of the bank and putting it up on top. And this is an important process because Devon hedges are different from all other hedges, this combination of shrubs on top and an earth bank. And if you don't keep on putting the earth back up on top, they get shorter and shorter and eventually disappear altogether. So through casting up, we can increase the height of the bank by a foot or so, decrease the height of the soil beside it, and ultimately not only are you keeping the hedge bank looking like a Devon hedge, but you're making it much more stock-proof. So traditionally you'd use a Devon shovel, take this soil and throw it up on top, but everyone who's ever done it will know this is very hard work. Nowadays I would fully recommend a mini digger for doing the job, or a bigger machine. Fairly quick, fairly easy, and very effective at keeping your hedges in a beautiful condition.